Good afternoon, folks. Good morning, folks. Good evening, folks, all across the world, wherever you are. It's a pleasure for me to introduce to you today the Guru Nanak Digital World Conclave of the year 2020. It is a pleasure for us to have a wonderful panel to discuss on some of the teachings of Guru Nanak Ji and how those can be applied and spread for, let's say, the benefit of mankind, for the benefit of each of us, actually, across the world, given especially the year 2020 and the special, gifts that it brought to us all. Now, that being said, my name is Robinder Sachdev. I'm the president of Imagindia Institute. This conclave is brought to you by the Imagindia Institute, which is a think tank, in partnership with a global campaign known as Live and Let Live Sans Frontiers, and supported by the Korea Peace Movement. We also have other supporting partners about whom we'll share. So thank you very much, folks who are listening, watching this live stream. Please come by, check by, wave by, put in your questions, and we'll take your questions with our eminent panel of guests also. Now, let me bring the panel with me on the screen so that we can start the discussion. I shall be introducing each one of our panelists now. It is a pleasure for us to have brilliant quotes from all across the world. First of all, let me introduce Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh Khalsa, chairman of Sikh Dharma Universal and ambassador of the Sikh religion in USA, based out of New Mexico, US. Let me next introduce Sardar Sukhbir Singh Ji, a member of the Guru Nanak Nishkam Seva Jatha from Birmingham, United Kingdom. Let me introduce next Daniel Blackman, a community leader, environmentalist, and author from Atlanta, United States. Let me next introduce Dr. Lakhvinder Singh, who is the director of Korea Peace Movement based out of Seoul. And last but not the least, of course, let me introduce our good friend and a champion, Gurdeep Kaur Chawla, community leader and communication expert from California, USA. Thank you everyone for joining. And folks who are watching this show, please keep your comments coming. We would love to have your comments and thoughts as we go along in our discussion. The format of this discussion would be like rounds of questions, one big leading question, which each panelist would be invited to throw light his or her views on. And at the end, we would have, of course, a concluding wrap-up. Now, may I begin the first round with your opening comments, please, with Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh Khalsa Ji, chairman of Sikh Dharma Universal and ambassador of Sikh religion USA. Bhai Sahib Ji, given the world where we are, the question in this round is, how are teachings of Guru Nanak Ji relevant, can be applied, can be amplified to help solve some of the challenges in the political, social context in this post-COVID world? Sir, your thoughts.
Thank you, Robinder Ji. Allow me to greet everyone in the warm Sikh greeting. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. First of all, thank you all, Dr. Lakhvinder Singh, Robinder Sachdev, for inviting me to be on this seminar, on this webinar, and welcome all panel members. It's a pleasure to connect with you. Today, I believe this discussion today is very important about Guru Nanak Dev, his contributions. My feeling is that Guru Nanak Dev Ji started a panth, a family, not dharam really, not religion. It was a way of life that he taught us, universal brotherhood, full of compassion, forgiveness, sharing, living a life of sharing, living a life that is service to others. All of these teachings encompassed in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. To understand Guru Nanak, we have to really understand the concept of the Shabad Guru, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So Guru Nanak's teachings in today's world is as much relevant as it was 551 years ago. What I feel is that today the world is facing various conflicts. There is depression, there is mental agony, all kinds of pandemic-related problems, which has added to the conflicts that we are facing in this world. If we look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teachings, it teaches us to be free of the five vices, which is calm, growth, lobh, moh, ahankar. Translated, it means get rid of our greed, attachment, our ego, our lust, and these, if we encompass in our life, I think we can have clarity of mind. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was one of the most traveled prophets, most traveled among all the founders of the religion. His message was basically of universal brotherhood. Wherever he went, he had discussions. And let me point this out. These were not arguments. He had a way to preach his lesson. He had a way to communicate with the communities that he met. And look at his life, how he traveled all the way from among the Indian continent, subcontinent, all the way up to China, all the way to Mecca and far away places to Baghdad and so many places. Wherever he went in his four journeys of life, half of his life he traveled. So the relevance of Guru Nanak's teachings today are if we can be at ease, have peace in mind, look at human dignity, respect the diversity, and also have a concept that all religion, all holy scriptures, Guru Nanak said that every holy scripture is capable of enlightening their followers on the divine path. So he did not just preach Sikhism, he gave a message of universality. So I feel that the world today needs to come back, needs to reset their button, as if you will, and they need to connect with these teachings. Have calmness in your mind, peace in your mind, have reverence for all that you meet, and give and share. Look at the concept of langar, look at the Satya Soda concept that Guru Nanak, so many teachings. And if we can just connect with these teachings, our life will be much, much more simpler, better, and we will be able to relate with each other in peace and harmony.
Thank you so much, sir, for your opening comments. I think, I had a bunch of questions for various rounds. You kind of captured the essence of all those questions and the answers therein. We will move. Yeah, certainly. In fact, I'm reminded last night I was talking to some children on the theme of the child is the father of man. And what you're saying about so many things kind of absolutely link in their brotherhood and all. Thank you so much, sir. May I now invite Sardar Sukhbir Singh ji for his opening comments. You see, this round we will focus more on Guru Nanak Ji's teachings and the way ahead with respect to social, environmental, public health. Next round, we'll be talking more about the personal lives and personal happiness and peace of mind. So, if I may request you to focus more on, Guru Nanak Ji's teachings with respect to the political, social, community, and the world in which we are living, with respect to a post-COVID world.
Guru Nanak's message was, as Bhai Satwal said, truly, absolutely universal. Guru Nanak says in the sixth scripture, it says the God put his spirit before, then the body came. First the spirit entered, then that is why you are here, because the spirit of God is in you. Now, when Guru Nanak viewed anybody, it was not looking at the outside, that this person is a Hindu, this is a Muslim. Guru Nanak looked at the spirit inside. So, by example, when Guru Nanak went on these, I call them like interfaith journeys, spent 27 years doing a very, very long 4 journeys. But with him, he had two of his friends. One of them was a Muslim, Pai Mardana, and the other one was Pai Bala, who was a Hindu. So Guru Nanak spent nearly half of his life with 2 people. One was a Hindu, one was a Muslim. But he never looked at them as a Hindu or a Muslim. He just looked at them as human beings. Even when Pai Mardana, because Pai Mardana was a Muslim, and he said to Guru Nanak at one point, he said, Guru Nanak, I'm required by my religion to do Hajj to Mecca. can I have your leave? The Guru Nanak said, okay, you can go, but I will come with you. So even Guru Nanak went with my Mardana to Mecca. So this Guru Nanak gave an example of the universality, that we should not be looking at people what their status is on the outside, but try and recognize the inner spirit of ourselves. Mantu Jol Srup Apna Mulkhan. The whole aim of the sixth Dharam of what Guru Nanak says is to recognize that inside you are actually you're a spirit, and the whole life is spent in trying to recognize that inside spirit, and at the same time not to look at the outside the labels on certain people. This is white, this is black, he's got a turban, he hasn't got a turban. Guru Nanak suggests first of all you should concentrate on who is the spirit belong to. It belongs to the one God. So every person, first of all, primarily is part of God, and this is what Guru Nanak is going to recognize. This is how he's led all of his life, and you have not. Obviously, the time is very, very limited in these sessions, but Guru Nanak gave many, many examples. They are too numerous to mention of how to live with each other. Maybe in the other questions we will come across other examples as well.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, yes, exactly. One of the intents of this conclave discussion is also the takeaway that we would want upon the conclusion would be probably three core messages from the many, many, many teachings of Guru Nanak Ji that we can take and try and spread, or which already is happening, of course, a lot. But sometimes if you create a core message, it hits quicker and easier. So what we are trying to also discover with your, with your guidance, and the guidance of this panel would be what can be some 3 or 2 core, not slogans, but core messages that we should, spread more amongst the global community. Thank you so much for that, Sukhbir Singh Ji. We will look forward to also the live and let live part. Of course, that is one full round of discussion there. Now, may I invite, and folks, by the way, whosoever is watching, I think we do see some comments coming in. There's a comment from Sanjay Mohan. I think this gentleman, I know Sanjay Mohan is in Dehradun, India. Thank you, Sanjay, for watching. Please, thanks for your thumbs up, but please give in your comments and questions for our eminent panel out here, and I'm sure they would love to answer or reflect upon the thoughts that you share out here with our eminent panel. Now, may I invite Daniel, a community leader, environmentalist, and author from Atlanta. Daniel, sure. In the big picture, the challenges which are there, and the question right now in this first round is about what principles of life, what guidance stars for the political, social, and environment, and also public health should be looked at. And it's, of course, we are talking about Guru Nanak Ji and his principles, but you could look at a wider umbrella and a wider picture of what are some core principles you think that should be discussed more and more awareness spread of them for a better community living peace for all of us. Sir.
Yeah, I want to first thank you. This has been so informative in the short time we've been together. So as you mentioned, I have an international background in the climate, the global climate fight. I've actually written a book on nationalism. And in my book, I take 7 social sins that were established by Gandhi several years ago when he was talking about, the importance of us, not only politically, but society to mankind. And those principles include wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, politics without principle, commerce without morality, worship without sacrifice. And we added one to the current political climate in the United States and around the world, which was nationalism without compassion. The reason why we spoke about this, to your point of being in a post-COVID world, is our personal responsibility globally for people like myself to be on this call with such an esteemed group, with you moderating, with this discussion that we just don't have. We have seen a space in the world, and it's what I would assume we're going towards a post-COVID world, where we have to look at the challenges, but also the opportunities. the challenges in the sense of what has put us in a position today and what we can do to learn globally to be able to make sure that these things not only don't happen again, but that we can come together and create policies and opportunities that can help us to navigate through. But secondly, I think we'd all agree that our children and the generations that are coming must be educated and equipped and informed and prepared. My grandfather, who served as a diplomat to the United Nations, worked very hard in these areas to make sure that the global conversation was held and that we all had a seat at the table. For me, I think that we need to have guide points and navigation points in this space to not only make it from the challenges that we face, but to be able to go into a space where we can build coalitions, build strength and unity, but learn from the things that have happened and that all of us bring to this table. So I really want to just, I want to continue to listen. I want to learn and understand. But I think right now in the U.S., we're at a crossroads with the changing of an administration, looking at where the world is right now and how we're going to be able to get past the adversity that the past year has shown us. We have to begin to sit down and look at those areas that have worked and fundamentally replicate them in all of our communities from a faith standpoint, from a professional standpoint, but then also from our civic duty that we all share to bring these conversations from these platforms and online into real world and real life experiences. So I'm very happy to be here. I look forward to continuing the work and the conversation even beyond this phone call.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And as we understand, I mean, you see, one of the rounds or one of the core tenets of Sikhism and Guru Nanak's philosophy was service and seva.
Yes.
And I mean, service as leadership, pure service itself, of course, but even leadership is service. So one round of discussion, in fact, we would be looking, because that's another element we want to kind of propagate. As I mentioned, the idea of this conclave is to highlight, because there's a treasure trove of learnings and teachings out there. We want to maybe, bubble up 2, 3, 4 key points and try and spread them over the next 1 year in time for our next conclave, in which service and service itself would be a very important factor. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Now, may I invite Dr. Lakhvinder Singh, Director of the Korea Peace Movement in Seoul, South Korea. Dr. Lakhvinder Singh, you sit in a very interesting position, position in terms of, geographically and your areas of work, being South Korea. Now, my question to you would be that, sure, how would you see again the principles and teachings of Guru Nanak Ji being applied world over with respect to the political, social, and health perspective? Not personal yet, that we will come in the next round, personal happiness and peace. But social and political, socio-political, how do you see, especially with the context of, let's say, the Korean Peninsula and East Asia?
First of all, I would like to thank very much for inviting me for such an important event. We were trying to celebrate Baba's Gurpurab 2 weeks ago, but because of this corona, we couldn't do it. We did our best to approach the authorities to give us permission, and because every Gurpurab we used to organize a langar, but unfortunately, corona forced us not to do anything. So this reminded us of the ground reality of today's Korea or today's world. Otherwise, such an important event cannot be postponed in any situation. But now, we cannot even organize a simple event to celebrate our Guru's birthday. So this shows how we are being forced by the situation to accept the ground reality. That brings us to Baba's message. Baba's message is very important. Because of this mad race to economic progress, materialism, a serious spiritualism, spiritual void was created in East Asia, especially in Korea. People forgot everything about spiritual values, family values, and started rushing to get rich. Everything was sacrificed to become rich and prosperous nation. The price to become rich and prosperous is very, very heavy. Earlier, people didn't felt it, but now the consequences and implication of getting richer faster is coming out all over the place. Family has collapsed, environment has collapsed, system is not working. So we have brought back to Baba's teaching that without love of God, nothing works. So that is why we started our spiritual activity in Korea. I tried to set up a center, 6 center in Korea, to emphasize that without spiritualism, without humanism, nothing works. So today's event is very important to highlight Baba's message. And specifically talking about Baba's values, around 500 years ago, Baba emphasized the importance of hunger education. He started the concept of langar. He knew that how important is the hunger, which can hurt the society as a whole. So he started the concept of hunger. Today, SDG, one of the SDG is education of hunger all over the world. So even today, the whole world has accepted Baba's basic concept that everybody has a right to food. So one way or other, world is accepting Baba's basic teachings. Secondly, what environment? Guruji told us long time back that environment is the most important concept. They are like our parents. Guruji compared both air and earth like our parents. But unfortunately, in mad race to development, we just sacrifice everything. Too much damage has been done to our environment. And nobody listened, nobody tried to understand why Babaji said us, it is our parents, we have to pay attention to it. But now, the consequences, diseases, earth, climate change, everything is coming on. But unfortunately, even now, the message is being given in the terms, economic terms. They say we should keep the environment because it is dangerous to economic development. So for even now, the message is not getting the point. No, we should preserve our development, not just because it's helpful to our economic activity. We should say because it is helpful to our spiritual growth. Until we don't understand that term, we cannot protect our environment. So we have to say bigger vision to understand Baba's vision in the today's world.
Very interesting, and we look forward to in subsequent rounds, your expounding more on some of these core concepts. And may I actually again mention to our viewers, audiences, whosoever is watching by, please come by, put in your comments and questions if you have any, and I'm sure that our panel will be happy to take your questions. So please put in your questions and comments. It does seem that a comment has come in. This is from Shobha Kumar. Her comment is down below. What an incredible set of values Guru Nanak Ji has guided us towards. Thank you so much, Shobha. A pleasure to hear from you. Folks, please keep your questions coming or any comments that you may have, and we would share those with our panel and the questions that they take up. Now, may I invite Gurdeep Chawla, a community leader and communication expert from California. Gurdeep, my question to you would be that the values which, as our eminent panel has already expounded, and there are too many of them, how do we take these, especially with respect to the social well-being of our communities? How do we take these values more out to the wider world, let's say, so that we contribute more to the global peace and calm and soothing environments? Gurdeep, please.
Thank you, Robinder, and thank you each one of you for inviting me here. And it's a wonderful occasion. We are celebrating the 551st anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, who is the founder of our religion, Sikhism. And I feel so humble after listening to each one of the panelists. They are a source of knowledge, an ocean of knowledge that I have heard just now. And there's nothing really much that I can add. But since you've asked me a specific question, I would like to say, yes, we're talking about the healing process and the peace. And, Guru Nanak's teachings have never been more contemporary than they are today. In today's world, which is so strife-ridden and so much problems going on, not just because of all these the BLM movement and the divisions in the society, but also the pandemic that's going on. And there's so much. The world is kind of burning, and Guru Nanak has written in his Gurbani also. When the world is burning, what is it that can bring us out of that burning? What is it that can give us the much required soothing balm? And that balm is the Naam. The name of the Guru. The name of the Guru is what is going to give us the ultimate peace. And he has actually divided his teachings, or we can divide his teachings into three principles, the three key principles, which are Naam Japo, Vanshako, and Kirat Karo. And I'm going to translate that into English. Naam Japna is to meditate, to take the name of the one God. You can call it Vaheguru, you can call it Jesus Christ, you can call it Ram, Krishna, whatever you want to call it. But it's a Naam Japna. to meditate. And that is, what you were asking, the healing process. The healing has to start somewhere. And I think Guru Nanak has given us that, whatever way or shape you take in the name of meditation or just sitting and just losing yourself in his name. But it brings a lot of peace and calm in these very, very, very strife-ridden times, very disturbing times, both in terms of casteism and the black movement and such movement and the pandemic and people losing their folks left and right. This meditation is what brings us peace and calm. Second was kirat karo, which is to earn an honest living. You don't just sit there and imagine that you'll get some heritage or something, or things are going to fall in your lap, or you can take any kind of wrong means to earn a living, but earn an honest living. Do work with your thus known, like the Guru Nanak said, use your own 10 fingers, 10 finger and thumb, when use your own manual labor or whatever way you have, your intellect or whatever you have, and earn an honest living. And then the third one is vanchako, which is to share your earnings with people who are needy. And in this world, where there are so many people this time in pandemic who have lost their jobs, who are unemployed, sitting on the streets, and homeless, lost everything. This is a time that Sikhism's these three principles come in the fore, and they teach us to go ahead and help people with whatever earnings we have, with whatever way we can go and help them out. Make an honest living and share your earnings with others. Guru Nanak also taught us, Aval Allah Noor Upaya, Kudrat Ke Sab Bande, which is there's only one light out of which everybody emerged. Ek noor te sab jag upja, kaun bhale kaun mande. When everybody is emanated from the same one light, then how can we say so and so is bad, so and so is good? We are all the children of the same one God, one Akal Purakh, one light, which is to say. So there is no difference between, I'm a Sikh, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Christian, I'm a black, I'm a white, I'm a Jain, I'm whatever. So we are all the children of the same God. We come from there and we go back to him, merge back in the same light. So there is no difference. So in today's world, Guru Nanak's teachings are even more important than ever before, because we really need to follow them to bring back the much needed peace, to bring back the much needed happiness, calm and quiet. And as you said, it's a healing touch. It's the balm that we require at this time. I think everybody, for whatever reason, is impacted at this time, and we need them all.
Fantastic. And you put in a lot of punchlines. In fact, that's what we need to refine, or we would love to bubble up. And thank you so much, Dr. Chawla. But as you were talking, we have some comments coming in from some viewers. Folks, please do put in your questions and comments. I will read out some of the comments which have come in since we've been talking. Seema Kumar from New Delhi, she's saying so true. Thank you so much, Seema, for your comment. We have a comment coming in from Sanjay Mohan, who says the teachings of Guru Nanak Ji are a lot more relevant in today's divided world of ethnicity, language, skin color, etc. How is it possible to bring this divided mankind together? Thank you, Sanjay. In fact, that's what I think we are trying to have a conversation and build towards. Then we have a comment again from Seema Kumar saying, I'm following and understanding the treasures of the Shabads. It enriches your souls. Thank you so much. Another comment she has, lots to learn from Sikhism, beautiful paths. Thank you so much, Seema Kumar. Thank you so much, Sanjay, Shobha, and other folks who are watching this program and giving in your comments. Please keep giving your comments so that we can weave them in our discussion. Now, we move to the second round now with Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh. And sir, we would like to have in this round one, what could be some, for the year 2021, what could be some guidance you would like to share with the viewers and with us, the panelists also, in terms of, there are several challenges on fronts of society, community, there are personal challenges also of our mind and peace and stress, and there are challenges of our vocations and professions. Many of us are losing jobs and all. So what would be some of your thoughts in this whole, composition that should be shared more amongst us, amongst communities, across the world, across cultures?
Yes, that is a very important question. Peace of mind and challenges that we are facing in our various jobs and in our kirk, like you mentioned. If we look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teachings, he emphasized on the inner peace. There's a saying in the Guru Granth Sahib, "Jo Brahmande soi pinde, jo khoje so pave." This translated means that whatever is outside is also inside. So we have to look inside. Inner peace is what will give us outer peace. Outside will give us material things, which is really not going to give us inner peace. So there is a lot about this. And because of the time constraint, there's a lot that Gurbani and Guru Nanak Dev Ji talks about how to attain inner peace. There's another hymn that says, "Is man ko koi khojo bhai." So we have to look inside. If we look inside and develop inner peace, then we can share that peace with our families, with our communities, with society, and with nations at large. See, if you can only give something to someone if you first have it. If you don't have inner peace, you cannot share outer peace. You cannot have peace within your environment, within your communities, and within your societies. So one concept that Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught was that develop inner peace. Secondly, with all the chaos that's going on, with all the conflicts within the nations, conflicts between nations, conflicts between various religions, all the religions are fighting with each other, and basically what they are fighting about is this: that my God is better than yours, my religion and my way of life is better than yours. This is not the fight that Guru Nanak taught. He taught a message of universalism. So one other thing that Guru Nanak taught was that let everything be the will of God. Hukam rajai chalna, Nanak likhya naal. If we attach to that concept, that whatever the will of God is, that's what's going to happen. Accept the will of God. And then the third concept is sarbat ka bhala. The good of the humanity. Whatever work you are in, whatever line of business you are in, whatever situation you are in, always look at sarbat ka bhala, the good of all mankind. This is what we also say in our ardas at the end of this, that sarbat ka bhala. So this is another concept that we need to keep in our mind. Let me also add to what Gurdeep Chawla ji said about the three pillars or the principles of Sikhism, which was honest living, meditating on that one name, and then sharing your wealth. When we talk about what the Guru's message was, the 10 Gurus, let me add to that. The 10 Gurus gave a message of Naam, Dan, and Ishnan. Naam meaning the spiritual experience of reality. Dan, sharing the God-given bounties to us, like all material things. And sharing also means sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise, teaching the other people whatever knowledge you have. And Ishnan, which was a very important concept, was this relates to the noble deeds that we do to cleanse our mind, body, and soul. So these were the terms, these were the principles that Guru Nanak initially gave his message. Now, when we look at inner peace, how to develop inner peace? Naam Simran, meditation. This Corona, maybe this is a time that we reflect on and we stop the rat race and reflect on our mind, reflect on the situation that we are facing, and connect with our families, connect with the Guru, connect with your teachings of your respective religion, connect with what the messages various holy saints, founders of various religions gave, and maybe that will come in handy when we deal with the outside world. And then look at Guru Nanak's concept, equality of all, human dignity. And there's a famous saying which Yogi Bhajan used to say: if you cannot see God in all, you do not see God at all. So let us look at the godliness in everybody. Let us look at that we are all children of that one God. Again, because of time constraints, there's, like Sukhbir Singh ji said, that there's so many messages that Guru Nanak gave. One of the other very universal message of the Guru Granth Sahib, the Guru Nanak's teachings, is Manas ki jaat, ek pita, ekas ke hum barak. meaning that there is one Father and we are all His children. So this concept we have to keep in our minds. So when we look at Guru Nanak's teachings, and then the other main teaching of Guru Nanak was Nako Beri Nahi Begana, Sagal Sang Amko Miliyai. That no one is a stranger to me, no one is lost to me. I am at peace with everybody. So we have a lot of these teachings that Guru Nanak gave us, and if we reflect on these and practice them in our daily life, I think the world will be rid of a lot of conflicts that we have in today's world.
Thank you so much, Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh ji. You again, opened, like in Hindi we say, opened up a Pandora's, not a Pandora's box, a pitara, pitara of, these learnings. And partly that is one intent of this discussion today, that at the end of it, I really want to narrow down to maybe some 3 or 4 key aspects which we would try and spread more over the coming 1 year. Thank you so much for your thoughts. May I now invite Sardar Sukhbir Singh ji, member of the Guru Nanak Nishkam Seva Jatha of
Yes.
Birmingham, UK. Sardar Sukhbir Singh ji, we know, yes, there's so much out there in learnings and teachings of Guru Nanak ji. What are 1 or 2 of his core principles which strike the most with you, or which you think right now should be, I mean, everything is primary, I would say, but what do you think could be something more with emphasis in this period of time, post-COVID, going into 21?
Yes, first of all, it's very difficult to follow Bhai Satpal Singh ji. He comes out with the very, very good gems. I've known him for quite some time. Anyway, I'll try my best to pick out 1 or 2 special things about Guru Nanak. It's very, very difficult because Guru Nanak came out with many, many original forms of thought, many, many original practices. 2 of them I'll just mention because you just asked me to dwell on 2. First of all, I just follow on Bhai Satpal Singh about Hukam, his will. Guru Nanak, after giving the definition of God in the Mool Mantar, he mentions 4 different ways where mankind, especially in the Eastern region, have tried to merge with God. One is Socha Sochana Hovi Sochi Lakwar. There are 2 interpretations of that. One can clean himself even 100,000 times, but you will still not clean the mind. Chupa Chupna Hovi Jalaya Lakwar, which means you can try and still your mind for very, very long time, but still you will not reach the stillness of mind, which will lead you to merging of God. And Pukhya Pukhna Utri, giving difficulty to your body, hanging upside down. You can do this all, and still the inner hunger will still not go. And finally says that we come across philosophies of very, very good thought. Even if you have 100,000 of these, it's still not even one will go with you. What is the basic? The first question in Guru Granth Sahib, and the first answer I feel to me whenever I do Japji Sahib every in the morning, I just stop at these 2 lines, and they really astound. That is got nothing to do with meditating at the moment, nothing to do with the particular ritual. It says, "Kyun sachara hoya?" After all these 4 things are not working, what shall I do in the end? Guru Nanak says, "Hukamar zai chalna." Surrender to the will of God. Whatever is happening is 100% in His will. That is the first answer Guru Nanak has given to the most asked question: how do I break this veil of ignorance and merge with God? He said, "Hukam zai chalna Nanak likha." This is the first teaching, even before Guru Nanak says, "Dwell on His Naam." Okay, that is one. The other thing, one of the most important things Guru Nanak introduced was the diversity of thought and accepting other people's thought. Now, when Guru Nanak was young, he was born into a Hindu family. He was brought up as a Hindu, and at the time, I think it must have been 6-7 years old. They have this ritual rasam of the Janev. So there was a big family gathering, and the Pandit was called to oversee this ritual. And when it came to actually carrying out this ritual, and Guru Nanak refused at that point. He said, I will not wear this Janeau because this Janeau can be broken. And he later on in his other form, in Guru Arjan's form, he came out there, Kapas Santosh, that this Janeau should be made of compassion. We should have contentment. That's another idea. So Guru Nanak, in his journeys, he also collected the scriptures of other very, very holy people. And if you look at the Vedas, if you look at the Quran, if you look at the other scriptures, mostly they are written by people of that religion only. But what Guru Nanak introduced was something absolutely astounding. He actually collected the writings of people of other religions. And okay, we call this religion the Sikh religion, but sometimes I feel that I don't think Guru Nanak meant any name to be given to his thoughts, because first of all, Guru Nanak he entered the Gurbani scriptures of many other holy people and other writers into the Guru Granth Sahib, which is Sikh scripture. So Guru Nanak had the philosophy of first of all accepting the thoughts of other people. Then he respected them. Then by entering them into Guru Granth Sahib, he protected them. So take the example of I'll just be half a minute now. Namdev ji, he was, because of his thought of believing in one God in his particular form of Hinduism at that time, he was actually chucked out of the mantra. There's a story around that, which I haven't got time. But what the Gurus did, Guru Nanak in his form, he took Namdev, took his writings and put them in Harmandir Sahib, because this is where the Guru Granth Sahib was first installed. So Namdev was chucked out of his temple, but Guru Nanak gave him space in the Harmandir Sahib. So the philosophy is of acceptance. This is something for us and other religious people to copy. This is what we should bring, because the question was how to bring the world together, of accepting other people's thoughts. Okay, Guru Nanak did not wear the Janeau, but in his ninth form, as Guru Teva, he actually protected the Janeau. So he said, okay, I don't wear the Janeau for whatever reason. I don't believe in that, but I want to protect your belief in the Janeau. So Guru Tegh Bahadur gave his life. So we just celebrated that last week. In fact, in Delhi, he gave up his life just to protect the thought of the Hindu. So it is about accepting, respecting, and protecting other people's thoughts as well.
Thank you, sir. Once again, I think the comments which are coming in are kind of capturing what I could be saying. Shobha Kumar is saying that, a treasure trove of inspirations from the panel. Love the messages that they are sharing. Thank you so much, Shobha, and thank you so much, our panelists, for sharing. Another comment coming in from Sanjay Mohan. He's also following. There's some people who are following the discussion pretty seriously. Thank you, Sanjay. And please, folks, whoever is watching it on Facebook Live, on LinkedIn Live, please keep your questions coming up. Our next panelist would be Daniel, but before that, I will read out the comment from Sanjay. His view is that the 1920s brought the plague. 100 years later, we get history repeating again in the COVID pandemic. Sadly, after the plague, the rightist agenda began its ascent and culminated in Jewish Holocaust and 2 world wars. The rightist views are again on the rise. We have France, etc. I'll be looking at another. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you so much for your thoughts and comments. I would absolutely, we welcome all shades of opinion, but we are a non-partisan, bipartisan platform. So sure, those debates are out there, but right now, as of now, we are looking at a convergence of views rather than a discussion or debate on, what is maybe right or wrong. There's a lot which is out there wrong, right? We don't know. But the intent of this conclave together today is to bring folks from across the world. As you'll see, we have folks from the United States, we are from England, we are from South Korea, to kind of try and, create a common meta-narrative. So towards that meta-narrative, may I invite Daniel for his comments, and especially Daniel, from the perspective of service. What is your take that what can be done today, should be, maybe, is being done to promote more the idea of service amongst our communities, and especially when looking at, teachings or guidance of various leaders of all faiths, and especially since today's topic is about Guru Nanak Ji, if from Sikhism or Guru Nanak's teachings on the idea of service and how to promote that more, how to kind of involve more people in service, and what has your experience been?
The idea of honest living, I think, as was mentioned, whatever is on the inside is also on the outside. Service cannot be seen as an obligation. It has to be seen as an act of kindness, as the thing to do, because that is how we should be wired. And I think what humanity has lost in many aspects is a sense of doing for the global society, for the global citizenry, and not just as an individual. I think it's very important for all of the comments that were made today. I have learned so much in this small time, and I have a challenge to each of you, which is to continue to reach out to communities and cultures that may not embrace that which your beliefs and your principles are guided upon. I think what makes us different makes us strong. In the United States, during the American Civil Rights Movement, it was primarily focused on the oppression of blacks in America, and how the treatment was from slavery to the Jim Crow era. And when you follow the history of the black plight in America, it's very interesting. After the American Civil Rights Act was passed, the next major legislation to pass was the Immigration Act. And I think people have to understand, even if they're not political, that we have to create plans and build coalitions that are reflective of the world in which we desire to live in. Right now, I believe that the interfaith community has a tremendous opportunity and a responsibility to make sure that we're focusing on building these conversations, driving these conversations, but not forcing our faith or forcing our value system on individuals that may not be in a position or in a place to really embrace that. And I think that it works. As unfortunate, as challenging, and as devastating as COVID-19 has been, we have an opportunity, even with the last question, to form a post-COVID world that is transformed based on our unity and not on our division. I think that we're in a position right now, with all the knowledge that is here on this call alone, to build coalitions virtually, so that when we exit out of the challenges that COVID has presented, where we've been quarantined, we have not been able to communicate. I think that the power of human touch, shaking a hand, greeting a brother or sister with a hug, or practicing things that are of the utmost importance of just really human communication, I think is so critical for my generation and for the generations before our generations. Those of us that are in the position we're in now, the global aspect, whether we're religious leaders or we are civic leaders or we're policy leaders, our responsibility is to now take that information and to package it in a way where those who are seeking to learn and seeking to understand can now come together collectively. And I would refer to this in closing, Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., who has obviously had an impact on the global movement for civil rights and human rights, had a concept of the beloved community. And the concept of the beloved community was that we had a responsibility to each other to build a community that was based on love and peace and harmony and solutions, and not based on division and destruction. And I think that we have to embrace that in this space. What I would ask each of you is, for people like myself, after this call and into the future, we make this more consistent, sharing information, building coalitions, creating spaces, whether you are Black or you're Christian or Hindu or you are Muslim. We have to begin to build coalitions around the world, because our children are growing up in a world that is so connected through the internet and through technology. But we have to understand that interpersonal communication and the example we set to one another, to our society, to our communities, and to our culture are the examples that our children will follow. And and they're the living messages to a future that many of us may not see. So I would just encourage all of you to continue to share. I've learned a lot. I'm going to actually include those principles in my decisions, but also in the way in which I raise my children and operate as a global citizen in this world. And I thank you all so much for the opportunity to speak, and for the wisdom that has been shared today is literally, in my opinion, is something that I could never have gotten from a university. It's something that we have to begin to share from personal experience. So thank you so much. It means a lot.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Your words and thoughts. In fact, that is the intent of this conversation, across borders, across cultures, some frontiers, live and let live, building community, sharing, and, coming together as a family, one big global family or universal family. Even the cosmos, we are part of that family, right? And, kind of coping with the challenges out there. Thank you very much. I know that you have to leave. Thank you, Daniel, for your time. And we hope that you carry this message, as you said, amongst family, friends, and in the communities in which you participate. And we look forward to connecting with you, because this will be a rolling, year-long series of conversations which we'll be putting together. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, may I invite, and it's a pleasure for us, Richard Fulton, Fellow Religious Freedom from the Freedom Center at the Freedom Forum in Washington, D.C. Richard, thank you so much, sir, for joining this panel.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, please, folks, keep your questions and comments coming. We're having a wonderful discussion here across a range of views. May I request any of our panelists, please mute any sounds if you're getting from any other source, because it seems there's some sound feedback. Is there a feedback somewhere? Could we please ensure that our rooms are we better now? Sure. So thank you so much, Richard, for joining. We will continue our discussion now. Richard, the topic for today, there is an echo coming. May I request someone? Richard, is your mic system on?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I had feedback before. I'm good now.
Sure. So what would be your thoughts on the topic of the day? As you know, the topic, and you've been following this discussion, is on the principles of Guru Nanak. If you can share with our panel and with our audiences your views of how you think we can take the ideas of compassion and several such principles that Guru Nanak espoused, how could we take them forward? If you can make your quick opening comments, please.
Sure. So thank you, Robinder. It's an honor to be on this panel with these distinguished leaders of the Sikh community. And I know I didn't have an overlap with, I don't know Daniel Blackman, but I'm going to call him my brother Daniel Blackman, who really spoke wisely about the importance of coalition and bringing people together to be active in common values. And so I just want to associate myself, first of all, with what he was just speaking about. So I want to make a couple of points. First, I'm with the Freedom Forum in Washington, D.C., which, along with its defense of the American Constitution's First Amendment, does a lot of work on issues of religious literacy. That is, enabling people, educators, enabling people who are leaders in civil society to have a better understanding of other faiths that they may not be familiar with. And this is important for two reasons, many more, but for two special reasons. One is, as a pluralistic society, as India is as well, that it's important for all of us to understand the views and what motivates our fellow citizens. There's very often ignorance among the general public about faiths other than their own. And second, as that information and education takes place, to understand how much common ground there is between the different faiths. So as I said to Robinder when I was invited to be on this program, I am certainly not an expert on Sikh beliefs, and I've been learning a lot in the course of this discussion. But what I do understand very well is the commonalities of that faith, as I hear them now, with the faith with which I'm most familiar, which is the Jewish faith. And so a couple of things. One is the idea of service to others, which we have heard discussed today, is one of the pillars upon which Judaism rests. And I'll give you two examples of that. In the Ethics of the Fathers, which is a compendium of rabbinic teaching which goes back some 1,800 years, the Ethics of the Fathers in the Mishnah says the world stands upon three things: on the Torah, in other words, on learning, on worship, and upon acts of kindness. And similarly, on Yom Kippur, the great day of atonement in the Jewish faith, we learn that that atonement depends on three things there as well. Teshuva, which is repentance or return; tefillah, which is prayer; and gemulat chasidim, which is again good deeds. So we see in both of these recitations of what the pillars of Judaism are, the idea of good deeds is really front and center, in both cases. And good deeds translates into service to others. So every act of kindness, whether it's a small gesture or a global effort, makes a difference in potentially transforming the world. And to that I'll turn, I suppose many of you have heard the term, it's used a lot here in the United States, tikkun olam, which is often used by Jewish speakers. It means literally repair the world. And what this teaches us is that through our good deeds, through helping others, we are partners with God in repairing the world. So what we do to help others not only has an impact on the people that we are helping, which is the main purpose of it, but also has an impact on the broader world, our world, which is broken, and in which human imperfection and the other imperfections of the world are very much front and center. Nevertheless, we are each of us doing our part through our good deeds, and therefore repairing the world on the way to hopefully in someday overcoming poverty, hunger, oppression, war, sickness, and the enemies of life. The Jewish concept is that history has a direction towards ultimately a messianic age in which all of these things shall come to pass. So, another point I'll make is that we're asked, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel used to say, a Jew is asked to take a leap of action rather than a leap of faith. So it's not enough. While belief is important, faith is important, teaching and learning is important, prayer is important, we must not act by faith alone. We have to act in a way that that leads towards and compels the transformation of the world. And just to differ slightly with what my brother Daniel Blackman just said, he said that we should be doing things not as an obligation. And I think the Jewish teaching is that, in fact, these are obligations, that we have to do these things whether or not we understand why we're doing them. And the doing of that will actualize us and make us better people, because we are doing the right thing by our brothers and sisters, and therefore making for a better world. So, I'll just conclude with the concept that I read earlier. One person had said service is important to Jewish life as ritual and ceremony, and of course ritual and ceremony are essential to Jewish life, but so also is service to others. And so it's really very gratifying to hear your discussions about how important service to others is as well to members of the Sikh community. So with that, I'll stop at this point.
Thank you so much, Richard. I know you've been at the forefront and leadership of building, partnerships between interfaith communities and interfaith organizations and religious, let's say, movements or religious groupings. So it is wonderful to hear your views. Thank you so much. Now, may I please request all to please mute your mics and only unmute while you're speaking, because there is some feedback coming, if I may. There's a comment coming in from Shobha saying, very beautifully shared, Richard. Love the idea of being partners with God to repair the world. Thank you so much, Shobha, and thank you so much, Richard, for sparking such thought amongst our audiences. Now, that being said, may I now invite Dr. Lakhvinder Singh, the director of the Korea Post movement from Seoul. Dr. Singh, you've been listening to what we are talking in this round, right? What are your thoughts? And how do you see, for example, like Richard says that, I think he mentioned somewhere that it's enough to think and also some action, right? It's something like that, what Richard mentioned, that we have to move towards action. So what are your thoughts towards that? Promoting some action, quote unquote, towards the noble ideals of the topic of the day that we are talking, especially in, again, the Korean Peninsula and the East Asian countries, from your vantage point?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to start where I left last time. Because of this mad rush of economic materialism and economic progress, serious spiritual void was created in Korean society. So we have to start from here, rebringing the spiritualism into society. Korea used to become a very, very rich society. It used to have a very strong faith, but something in the between has evaporated, and now people are very unhappy, very sad, no peace of mind. So we have to start from here. But Babaji told us, people are trying to feel happiness and trying to bring happiness from their material gains. They become very proud, very pride. But Babaji told us that Nan hukme je buje to humme kehn koi. So Babaji told us that real happiness comes from Baba's Guru Lord's order. Until you don't understand the meaning of God, the message of God, you cannot become totally peaceful. And he also taught us the real inner peace comes from self-growth. Self-growth means you have to control your actions, you have to control your lungs. Here I would like to say, Babaji said, Nanak fikka boliye tarman fikka hoye. It means if you really want to have a peace of mind, healthy body, and healthy soul, you have to control your tongue. You have to speak to others with kindness. But in Korea, more and more anger is spreading. So a lot of people are finding themselves to control their anger. So as you said, the little level concept is very important. Until and unless we follow the Baba's message, no peace is possible. Inner peace is not possible until and unless we control our actions and control our tongue. And then Babaji told us that if we really want to seek peace, inner peace, we have to understand that ultimately everybody has to reply, has to answer his action in this life. Babaji said, karma apni it means everybody has to pay for action. Somebody pay soon, somebody pay later. Somebody can come close to sooner, somebody come later. So ultimately it is self-enlightenment, self-growth which brings peace of mind. But in Korea, this is missing. People are thinking that they can bring peace, they can bring happiness by getting material gains. But it has been proved beyond doubt that material progress, material growth do not bring real happiness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakhvinder Singh. I think for the benefit of our viewers who are listening in the audiences, Dr. Lakhvinder Singh is, of course, let's say, since he's based out of Seoul and does extensive work in East Asia and the Korean Peninsula, so he's sharing his views and experience from that perspective. But probably what you're saying, Dr. Lakhvinder, kind of holds true globally, right? I mean, you're using maybe Korea as a case study right now, but probably all societies world over are.
Baba's message spreads throughout the world. So as you said, Nanak fikka boliye tarman fikka. If you anywhere in the world, if you speak bad, it will hurt you more than the other person you're trying to say. So that's a very crucial message, very, very important message, Baba's message. Most of the people don't pay attention to it, but it hurts you more than others. So you have to be very, very careful in your language, what kind of language you use to others.
Thank you so much. Like yesterday, as I mentioned, we were doing a discussion with children on the topic of the child is the father of man. And we were talking that there's a concept or, global campaign known as kindness is cool, to stop bullying in school so that children are kind to each other. But I think that after the post-COVID experience, maybe it should be kindness is the new cool. Kindness has become more cooler, especially for the younger generations, if we want them to adopt more some of these principles and values that we are sharing. With that being said, may I now invite Dr. Gurdeep Chawla, community leader and a communication expert from California. Gurdeep, what are your thoughts on this panel? And given the paucity of time, I think we are already almost we are good on time. And folks, anyone who's viewing this on Facebook and LinkedIn, please keep your questions and comments coming. As you can see, we are sharing your thoughts with our panel, and our panel is kind of weaving in your thoughts into their comments as they share their views. Dr. Chawla, your thoughts on the discussion going on right now, that how to bring more, quote unquote, wider adoption of some of these thoughts. See, it's no point, or to some point, preaching to the choir, right? The idea is that how can good principles of all faiths, any faith, right? But today happens to be we are celebrating Guru Nanak Ji. So how can good noble principles of such lights, their light, be spread more for benefit of all of us?
Yes, thank you, Robinder, and thank you all panelists. It's been such a treat to listen to all of you. And I do read a lot from Gurbani, and I believe in it, and I think that is the way of life. But it's always enlightening and always refreshing to hear different views. So, in my opinion, as you have asked, how we can bring it in a practical life today, and as I said before, in this strife-ridden world, it's the Guru Nanak's message is really, really of utmost importance, and I think that we should start to imbibe these principles in our children from the very get-go. I think what you and I have been also talking about in the Live and Let Live campaign, it should start from the very beginning when the child starts his kindergarten. Why not? If the schools could have a curriculum like that, where children from the ages of 5 onwards, could be explained, what's the meaning of live and let live? What's the meaning of universal happiness? What's the meaning of universal peace and kindness and compassion and peace and all of these principles? If these values are given to our children from the get-go, I'm sure they will become much better citizens, and we will not be talking about these, the problems with these issues, and somebody opening fire in a high school, or Black Lives Matters and such matters, and all lives matters, and all these concepts would totally just be dealt away with. If our children are given the values from the first day. And then we can continue these values, of course, from kindergarten, we can go on to, different phases, maybe in elementary school, and then maybe in middle schools and high schools, and go up to college. And you see the next generation that comes up will be so much far ahead of us, in these principles. And there will be no need to even think about, it will come just like water, it's there, you breathe in and out, I mean, right now, I've raised 2 kids in California, and I know so much bullying goes on in our schools, and then even in middle schools and high schools, and how many students have to sometimes give up their faith. I'm a proud mom because my son has maintained his faith as a Sikh boy. He wears a turban. I'm very proud of him. But he had a phase when, people were asking him all kinds of questions, oh, why this and why that? Why do you have a turban on your head? And what does it mean? And he had to explain to everybody. So he decided one day to just do a presentation in his school. He said, I want to just be done away with all these doubts and everything. But not everybody has that kind of courage, and everybody has this kind of understanding of his religion, and that he can go and explain all this. A lot of students go under tremendous pressure and bullying and all. Either they give up their faith, or if they don't give up their faith, they just reel under that kind of pressure, that agony and pain, and a lot of kids get depressed. But then these depressed kids one day come out, and we have all this violence and violent incidents that we see, high school, somebody put a gun, and, so many people were killed, so many children, teachers were killed. We don't want that kind of society. And that's why we want these evils to be nipped in the bud. We want to give our children the right teaching from the day go. And that's why, as I said, we should start these teachings from the day of the kindergarten. When the students get into the school, we should teach them what is compassion. We should teach them the teachings not just of one religious leader like Guru Nanak, which of course encompasses a lot of these values that we are talking about. But, in any shape, way, or form of any religion, I think all religions teach us peace, harmony, compassion, universal brotherhood. And this is what matters ultimately in life. If children can imbibe these, they will be much better citizens. And we will be, universal brotherhood, and we will be global citizens in that sense. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much, Gurdeep. That was very profound. In fact, yes, absolutely, the Live and Live campaign, one of their, core tenets, which you are in fact yourself a partner leader in that, is to kind of, bring in a global movement to encourage school systems and school boards to kind of, introduce curriculum right from class or age 5 up till age 15 or some, wherein, such concepts are rigorously, but, in a fun, age-appropriate manner, the curriculum kind of, because again, the child is the father of man. What we are today is the sum total of our programming as what we learned in our education, in our schooling. So as you say, more of these principles are kind of conveyed and absorbed by the kids. One, will be less bullying, respect for diversity in the schools. And second, when these kids grow up, hopefully less of them would be veering off towards extremism or violence. So that is the core tenet of live and let live. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gurdeep. Now, we do have some comments coming in. One is from Sanjay Mohan. Absolutely. A great point, actually. He's saying that it is well known that algorithms of all social media platforms promote negativity. How are you looking at, kind of getting more positive news out in social media platforms? That is the crux of his point. A fantastic point, Sanjay. Thank you for sharing. Next is a comment coming from Hemant in Atlanta saying, fantastic conversation. All the panelists, though from different backgrounds, in many ways have reflected the true essence of what Guru Nanak's teachings are. It would be awesome to have a world where people really start instilling teachings of the Guru in daily lives. Thank you so much, Hemant. And folks, please keep your comments and questions coming, actually, so that we can take advantage of these eminent minds which we have today who are giving their time and sharing with us. Now we move to the last round. And in this last round, may I invite, of course, your closing comments, your wrap-up comments, your key message that you would like to share with us. So, Bhai Satpal Singh ji, what are your thoughts of this last 1 hour of our discussion? And as I mentioned, the intent of this conclave today was to bubble up some core messages, like maybe live and let live, or some others, which we of course know. But what would you prescribe, if I may invite you to, or suggest, 2 or 3 core tenets that are spread out more, especially through this campaign of what we are looking to run, or any other thought that you would like to share with us and our viewers as we head into the year 2021?
Sure. As my brother Bhai Sukhbir Singh ji said that, Guru Nanak's message are numerous, He explained beautifully about hukam, the will of God, soche soch na hui. Let me add, that, Guru Nanak taught us to live a disciplined life, to take precautions, to avoid inner and outer disease. Our immune system today is compromised because our ecological system is out of balance. And that is due to human greed, human error. In this COVID era, we have found that humans are the creatures that are the carriers of this COVID, not any other insect or any other animal. So we have to restrain. We have to lead a disciplined life. Guru Nanak talked about all of these things. And he talked about the inner, he talked about the outer disease. In Gurbani, Guru Nanak said, Gur pure sanjam kar diya, Nanak te fir dukh na diya. Translated, it means the perfect Guru given instructions for precautions on how to live. And following this, one does not suffer illness. So the message that Guru Nanak gave is very relevant in today's. Today, if we develop inner peace and happiness, we can develop a strong immunity. We can deal and fight with this COVID. We can fight with mental disease, and we can also fight with our inner demons. The other thing Guru Nanak said was about the environment. 550 years ago, he talked about the environment. Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Dhart Mahak. He talked that we have to respect our Mother Earth. We are ignoring our Mother Earth. So we have to look at all of this. Another thing I would like to share is I am a vegetarian. I practice vegetarianism. If we look at today's situation, I think we have to switch over to a plant-based diet, because meat industry is causing all of this pollution, all of this, the pollution in the atmosphere. Then we have to look at, looking at Guru Nanak's message, we have to look at how we can inspire others, how we can serve others, because that will give us a lot of inner peace. And Nanak's message was like Bhai Sukhbir Singh ji said, was a universal message. Like Gurdeep Chawla said also, it was universality. Guru Nanak, my closing remark would be that Guru Nanak was a founder, a prophet of a religion or a prophet. He was more than that. He was just an teacher. And every religion, if you look at Guru Nanak's teachings and his travels, half of his life, like Sukhbir Singh said that he traveled 27 years of his life, almost half of his life he was traveling. Now, wherever he went, every religion, every community gave him the status of their prophet, their rabbi. ऐसा rabbi से हर धर्म ने अपना rabbi माना. He went to Sri Lanka, they called him Nanak Acharya. He went to Nepal, they called him Nanak Rishi. He went to Tibet, they called him Nanak Lama. He went to Mecca, they called him Wali Hind. He went to Russia, they called him Nanak Kadamdar. He traveled to China, they called him Baba Fusa. So look at the respect that he got. Everybody called him that he was their peer. At that time, there were two major religions, Hindus and Muslims. Bhai Gurdas said in very beautiful words, that Nanak Shah Fakir, Hindu ka peer, Musalman ka peer, Hindu ka Guru, Musalman ka peer. So the respect that Guru Nanak got was so tremendous. And then look at his philosophy. Science is now discovering what Guru Nanak said. Look at the galaxy system he talked about. Patala patal lakh agase. Now science is discovering that there are thousands and thousands of galaxies. There are thousands of suns and moons and stars. But he said it 550 years ago. Now that is what we have to relate to. That Guru Nanak's message is so prevalent and so relevant in today's day and age. And young people have to look at it, his message, connect with it, and we connect with the social and political, economical, and all the challenges that we are facing with keeping Guru Nanak's teachings in mind.
Oh, that is simply brilliant, sir. That is simply brilliant. Thank you so much. We have comments coming in from Shobha from Washington, D.C. She is saying, this discussion can be the beginning of a global curriculum of kindness, service, and harmony. A short core module can be developed which draws from the core tenets of various faiths and focuses on common ground. Thank you so much, Shobha, for your comment and thought. I'm sure that, yes, this conversation will be a work in progress over the coming months and across the new year, into the new year. Thank you so much, Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh ji. You said several things, and actually, forget the next curriculum. We will be taking a video recording of this entire program of tonight, and we'll prepare a transcript or a summary of the discussions which were held, and we'll share with all our panelists, and then we'll kind of try and work some next steps towards some of the thoughts that you highlighted for guidance and leadership. Thank you so much. May I now invite Bhai Sukhbir Singh ji, for Sardar Sukhbir Singh ji from the Guru Nanak Nishkam Seva Jatha, Birmingham, for his wrap-up comments and thoughts and some light that you would want to leave for our viewers and for our viewers and for us, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm feeling a little bit sad that this session is coming to a very quick, and I wish it could go on for like the whole day. There's so much to learn from everybody, especially when Richard came on. He took me to my 3 trips to Jerusalem, where I celebrated Sabbath with the 3 great people, and also I prayed at the Western Wall with Paisa Pai Mahinder Singh. So thank you for that. There's a lot to learn, and what he said was it is not only the rituals, not only the theory, but it's actually what you do, what you practice becomes most important. Now, throughout Guru Nanak's, I've been in many interfaith forums around the world, engaged in many dialogues, and what happens many times lately, I'm a little bit put off by a lot of these interfaith, because what people do is just say certain things about their own faith which people want to listen to, which will say, okay, this is fantastic, this is good. But Guru Nanak was very blunt many times. He said that although we have rights, people are all talking about human rights, but he also said that we have responsibilities. Now we have responsibilities to our parents, our children, our fellow man. We have a responsibility to the environment, to the climate. And this is what many people are ignoring. And Guru Nanak, in fact, many people say that Sikhism is not a faith, is not a religion, it's a dharam. It's a sort of a group of responsibilities that you have towards everybody and everything. So Guru Nanak mentioned which is the highest religion in the world. He mentioned which is the best religion in the world. And it is not Sikhism, it is not Judaism, it is not Hinduism. He said, Sarab Dharma Shresth Dharma, Har ko naam jap nirmal kalam, which is something which can, it is by live and let live. It says the highest form of religion is to meditate upon the name of God 24 hours, all the time, in your own religious way, in your own rituals, whilst doing nirmal kalam, whilst doing good deeds. So the combination of remembering God all the time and doing good deeds is the highest religion, which is you could not find a more common denominator in the interfaith circles. Why meditate all the time? I'll end by just one referring to one scripture where the Guru has been very blunt. He said, the next life, whether we go to heaven or where we were reincarnated, depends on not what we did the whole of our life. In the scripture, it says, what the very last thought will decide where we go in the next life. So just 4 or 5 examples, which I'll end after that. The scripture says, Antkalyo Lakshmi Simrat. If you are thinking, the last thought is thinking about wealth, but you will end up as a snake in your next life. Then Aribai Gobind Nami said, it is better not to forget the name of the Lord. Then he gets the next example. He says, Antkalyo Istri Simrat. If you're thinking about the opposite sex as a last thought, you will be reincarnated as a prostitute. Then Guru, I'll have good news at the end, but this is all bad news for someone like me. Guru says, if you're thinking about your children, the last thought in your life, you will be reincarnated as a pig. Then it says, if you're thinking about your property or your wealth, right in the last moment, you will become like a ghost in your next life. But then Guru says, the good news, Antkal Narayan Simre Aschinta Ma Chemera, Oda Tuno Tera Mukta Pukambal Wasa, Rida. He says, if the last thought in your life is thinking about God, then you will achieve salvation as Guru is with you. Now, this is here, the Guru is being very blunt with his religion and with his rituals. It is not something but everybody will believe in, not what everybody will accept, but this is it. This is it. The Guru is saying that this is it. This is what I have, with my connection with the Lord, this is what I've learned, and this is putting in front of the whole world. Whether the people want to go along with that or not, it will be their choice. Thank you.
Oh, that is so beautiful, sir. And once again, you've said so much, and my mind is running into so many directions. But again, I cannot take much time as the moderator. I have to. But a couple of points. Absolutely, the idea of live and let live, and so much more which is out there. And also, I do much understand. The discussions on interfaith. I think there've been many happening over dozens and tens and decades. Various world organizations come together, world leaders come together of religions and faiths. But a lot must be happening, but I think we can expect, and we should expect a lot more from such, from such confluence of world religious leaders. So I'm not saying we are maybe a small drop in that effort towards something like that, but yes, our expectation and hopes would be that much more the world religious leaders, faith leaders come together and somehow mobilize more positivity in the world around. I'm hopeful for it, but we haven't seen much action happening. Again, it seems to me many of these remain like within the preaching to the choir. it's an assembly of, wise people, experts. They just talk amongst themselves. They do not, or maybe they do take it wider out, wider out, or the messaging maybe. But whatever it be, one does think that it needs more of that. Thank you for pointing that out, sir. Now, may I invite Richard Fulton, for his views, sir. Fellow religious freedom, you're big on freedom, big on everything.
Yes.
Richard, yours.
Freedom's a good thing. So I'd like to make three points. One is going back to what one of the panelists talked about, watching your speech and not speaking evil. There's a Jewish concept there. Again, we're finding these parallel concepts of Lashon Hara, bad language. And the restrictions within, and followed imperfectly to be sure, but the restrictions within the Jewish faith on slander and defamation are stronger than the civil prohibitions on such. In fact, we're told to be very careful about what we say about people. Even if something is true, you sometimes need to be careful about what you're saying and think about whether the greater good is really being spread or served by talking about these things. And thinking back to one of the comments that we received from one of the viewers, I think one of the problems with the social media is because we're so disassociated and you're not speaking face to face, that results in people saying really bad things about one another or responding in a tone that if they were, speaking face to face, they would never do. So really, it's a challenge to all of us to think about how we behave in social media, and also to sometimes not respond. That when you post something that's well-intentioned, and then you get really just unpleasant, defamatory kinds of responses, we have to think about whether we don't need to let it go, that it's not worth responding to, and just lifting up those voices instead of contributing to a more constructive conversation. So this idea of watching language and how we interact with others is very important. Second, I want to talk for a moment about the concept of live and let live, which is I hear so much. And here I want to reflect on the fact that in many faiths, at least in the West, there's a belief for some faiths that if you don't share their faith, you're condemned. You have to share their faith in order to be saved, as it were. That's not a Jewish concept. The rabbis say all people, all good people, righteous people, I should say, have a place in the world to come. And I once told that to somebody I knew from another Western faith, and they couldn't believe that was a Jewish concept. That you don't have to be Jewish to be saved, to have a place in the world to come. You have to be a righteous person, and that, I think, is the ultimate live and let live. Is to understand that we're on different paths, and we have different paths to the ultimate, and we have to respect others in their faith and in the way that they live. And that's a crucial aspect. I have to say, within the Jewish community, it's probably less perfectly followed within our own community. You'll hear discord sometimes than it is in terms of understanding that there's no obligation of non-Jews to follow Jewish precepts. It is their obligation to be righteous people. There's something called the Noahide commandments, which are the 7 universal principles that we hope non-Jews will follow, but those are certainly not the great panoply of Jewish commandments that apply to somebody who's a member of our community. But having said that about live and let live, I think it's important also to say that doesn't mean that we should let go things that are immoral, in which people are being harmed. That's not live and let live. That's standing idly by as the blood of your brother is taken, to paraphrase a biblical quote. And in fact, the rabbis say that the idea of, or at least a Hasidic rabbi said, the idea of limiting opportunities for poor and not wanting to help others is originated in Sodom, which is to say originated in a place that's associated with evil. So even as we live and let live in terms of living different kinds of lives, we have to understand that there are bad things happening in the world that we need to respond to. And it's our obligation and responsibility to respond to those things. That's not an area in which we have to be living and let live. And finally, I just want to talk about the concept of resilience. We've heard mention of many of the challenges we face today: COVID-19, climate change, other conflicts that are taking place in the world. And I think we have to understand this too shall pass, but it will only pass if we, coming back to my earlier concept, are partners with God in dealing with those issues. I mentioned the Pirkei Avot earlier, the Mishnah, in which we're told, doing a bit of a mashup here, but the day is short, the task is daunting, we're not obligated to complete the task of repairing the world, but neither are we free to desist. We're not free to desist. We have to continue in the work in this world to make it a better world, and in doing that, we can feel that we've done our part and that we're doing it in partnership not only with God, but in partnership with other communities in coalition, such as my good friends in the Sikh community. And with that, I'll finish.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was so profound. No doubt, you've been a leader in building and setting, thought leadership of communities and faiths coming together, or discussions and evolving together. I'll just mention this one little thing. I absolutely agree on live and let live, that it cannot be that you let live and you just throw up your arms also. The caveat there is live and let live, period, or else. Because the point is live and let live amongst humankind, but also live and let live with environment. Okay. Now, so the COVID is an example of, if we do not live and let live with the environment or Mother Nature will push back, punish us in a way, right? So absolutely understood on that it's not to be a sign of weakness of any thoughts. It has to be a sign of strength at the same time also. Thank you so much. Now, may I invite Dr. Lakhvinder Singh for your wrap-up closing comments within the meta-narrative that is going on. Thank you, please. Dr. Singh, you're on mute, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think Babaji's message is more important today than the time when he gives the message. Taking in the context of Korea, situation is very grim. We are heading to a peace process in Korea has collapsed, and we are heading towards the nuclear war. So how can we avoid this nuclear catastrophe? I think Babaji's teaching is very important. Babaji taught us na koi bari na ek bigana. So this universal brotherhood is the only option to avoid the nuclear catastrophe in Korea, the peninsula, in the world. If the nuclear war takes place in Korea today, it will hurt not only Korea but almost every country in the region. So Babaji teaching universal brotherhood and is very, very crucial. But so far we have failed to reach Baba's message in this part of the region. We have done a lot of good work in the Western world. We have done a lot of good work in Europe, but Babaji's message is still not reached, not done his job which should have done. But I think Baba's message should reach Korea or in the East Asia before it's too late. So we are trying here, do our best, but because of our limited resources, limited numbers, we are not able to do. So I think today's initiative is a great initiative. A lot of Koreans are listening to today's webinar, and a lot of people, my Korean friends, are paying attention to Baba's message. I think we are making a good push to spread Baba's message. I think Baba's message is a solution to many of Korea's problems, like family problem, high suicide rate, environment crisis, and this nuclear war. Even though Baba's message is universal, but when we put it into context of Korea, I think Babaji's message is ready-made for Korean Peninsula. So far we have not, Sikh community have not failed to reach out to this part of the world. I think this part of the world needs Baba's message, Baba's teachings more than Western Europe or USA. So today I want to take the opportunity to reach out to my brothers and sisters in USA, UK, to pay some more attention to this part of the world and help us to spread Baba's message. Because what happens here will hurt the whole world. If a nuclear war happens here, it will destroy the whole world. If the nuclear crisis happens, it will not stay contained to this part of the world. And environment crisis is also very serious, and family crisis is very serious. But we are not putting any attention to this part of the world. So far, we have ignored this part of the world. That's not good. We have to come back to this part of the world. This region needs us. That's my appeal today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lakwinder Singh. A very passionate and a very action-oriented, focused, appeal or a message that you put out. I'm sure, absolutely, yes, the audiences and, of course, our esteemed panel would be thinking about it or would think more based upon what you said or shared with us right now, as well as we mentioned, this recording would be put up on YouTube and shared with other folks. So the overall messaging would be spreading more and more. How much of traction we can gather? We can try as much. It will gather some traction and get some legs. Thank you so much, Dr. Lakwinder Singh. Meanwhile, we do have a comment again from Shobha Kumar. She is really following this discussion. Thank you so much, Shobha, saying that very enlightening and inspirational. Thank you to all the panelists and Robinder. Thank you so much, Shobha. It's the interest of each one of us, I think, which keeps us all going and which drives us towards. And of course, much thanks to the valuable time of our esteemed panel, whom we are so lucky, fortunate to have with us. That said, may I now invite Dr. Gurdeep Kaur Charla for your wrap-up final comments. And after this, actually, though I've said this was the final round, I think we can have a quick round of 1 minute each in case our panelists would agree. Would that be okay, please?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Because it's such a valuable treasure being generated, I think we need to kind of capture and record it for posterity for ourselves. Gurdeep, yours, please. You're on mute, please unmute. Gurdeep, you're still on mute, please. If you may unmute. And if others may mute.
Is that okay now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Robinder. And as I say, the message of Guru Nanak on this 551st birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Ji is to follow his teachings in 3 quick steps. Kirat Karo, which is to, make an honest earning. Naam Japo, to meditate and, forget all your worries and tensions and stress and everything that's going on in the world in the name of God and in meditation. And Vanchako, to share your earnings with the needy. That's what, to me, are the 3 golden principles which we need to follow. And as the panelists have said, don't use bad words, no fikha bolna, like, bad language or language that's not appreciated. We should not use that. And of course, we should believe in universal brotherhood and the good of the whole world rather than just ourselves. With that, I think that will summarize.
Thank you so much, Gurdeep. Once again, I think, it's a mine. It's a gold mine. You can keep digging, but the idea is to kind of, pick up some big nuggets and polish them up and bring more shine into this world of today. Thank you so much. May I invite, of course, our first most preeminent speaker of the day today, Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh Ji, Chairman of Sikh Dharma, Universal Ambassador of the Sikh religion to the USA. Sir, your further grace and comments, wrap up, which you wish to leave the viewers with, and this recording, and conclude the Guru Nanak World Digital Conclave 2020. Sir, yours.
Sure. Thank you for that opportunity again. I feel in the end, what I would like to say is that, we need to connect with our inner self, not just internet. Everything in this world comes with a manual, a laptop, a phone, a bicycle, even an airplane. So what do you think? God and Guru has not given us a manual? Yes, of course. He has given us an inner manual which we need to connect with. Facebook is fine, but we need to face our book, So what I would say in the end is that let's keep Guru Nanak's message in mind. Let's keep the message of service to humanity. Let's keep the message, like most corporations are practicing today, CSR, corporate social responsibility. Guru Nanak gave us that, Sangat and Pangat, 551 years ago. So finally, what I would like to say is a successful life means nothing unless it is also a significant life with service to humanity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wise and illuminating comments. And I'm sure that our viewers now, and also the ones who watch this recording, and us ourselves also, again, as I'm mentioning, we would look to learn and absorb whatever we can and work towards some of that. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Now, may I invite Sardar Sukhbir Singh Ji.
Yeah, Guru Nanak emphasized the very, very importance about dialogue, about talking with each other, talking to each other, talking with each other. He said, "Mile sant, kich kahiye ki suniye." If you meet someone good, someone holy, say something and listen to something. But if you meet Mile Sant, if you meet someone who's the opposite of holy, if you meet someone who's a murkh mashkari, just keep quiet at that time. And Guru Nanak also emphasized that obviously we have disputes all the time between individuals, families, nations, countries. We have disputes, but the solution Guru Nanak gave was sit down and talk to each other. So I think that is that would offer a very, very big solution to many, many problems in the world. Actually sit down and talk.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, that's a great point. Again, it's the simplicity of the ideas wherein these are profound thoughts, and I think we need to connect back to the simple thoughts and realize the power of those simple words. As you said, dialogue, sit down and talk. Thank you so much. May I now invite Richard Fulton, fellow Religious Freedom in Washington, D.C., for his wrap-up final comments that he would wish to leave. And also, by the way, I might say, Sukhbir Singh Ji, you were saying that when they're holy men, there's a different vibe. So I think I'm getting that vibe with this panel right now. These are holy men, right? So this has to spread. Thank you. Richard, yours.
So first of all, I want to thank you, Robinder, so much for including me in this wonderful discussion, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to interact with these important leaders of the Sikh community, and so thank you. The last thought that came to me is it really has to do with one of the questions that was posed in the flyer. We're living in chaotic times and tumultuous times. And the question is how one responds to those, because as we see in some quarters in the United States and elsewhere, people respond to this by blaming the other, by somehow looking beyond themselves and their own communities and thinking if they can, it's these other people that are responsible. So, my final bit of Jewish teaching, I guess, is that in the Torah, it multiple times talks about this concept: do not oppress a foreigner. You know what it feels like to be a foreigner because you were a foreigner in Egypt. And so what that teaches us is that our experience of being oppressed and enslaved should lead us to understand what it's like to be an oppressed person, what it's like to be an enslaved person, and to work for liberation and to work for the betterment of others so that they should not suffer the same fate. And to find again, to come back to the theme I've been on, and to find partners in that good work. So, let's all, I know that this group certainly does, but we all have to bear that in mind as we think about how to deal with these tumultuous times and these great challenges we're facing, both in the climate and in our interactions with each other. So let's move forward for that on the basis of that profound and ancient teaching.
Thank you so much, Richard. Once again, really, see what happens as the conversation develops, it gets more and more intense, but unfortunately we start running out of time, by the time, you reach that build up. But I'm sure we will, and we will in the coming months, again, reconvene sometime, and we'll seek your time and permission and, a contribution again of your time and thoughts for carrying this forward, because this is the first version digital, a smaller format today. Next year, we'll be able to do a bigger format involving much more people. And at the same time, we'll do some things over the year, maybe every 3 months or 6 months, to kind of start working towards something in our limited or whatever maximum what we can do.
Let me also say, Robinder, let us also pray that we can meet in person and not only on Zoom or its equivalent, that these times shall pass and we move on to more normal times.
Absolutely. Very well taken, sir. Maybe the next year, the edition of the second edition of this global conclave will be in person. Let's hope and work towards that. It'd be a pleasure to. Sorry.
I was wondering if we can have like maybe, one in like 3 months or 6 months or something, maybe we could invite more people and, have questions ahead of time and address accordingly, not just make it an annual, but maybe, twice a year, 3 times a year or something.
Absolutely, Gurdeep, you're on the advisory committee. You are on the, you're the co-creator of this initiative, and absolutely.
It's the need of the hour.
Yeah. In your closing comments, maybe you can, encapsulate that. Thank you so much. Now, may I invite Dr. Lakwinder Singh? Okay, all of us have taken the message that which you're putting out, that Korea as a case study and East Asia maybe needs more, not needs more, that's patronizing on our part, but we think it could be more value to, human life and society and this planet if more such engagements or outreach was in Korea. But anyway, your wrap-up comments, please.
Yes, even though my initial remarks were based on Korea, but now I would like to speak in general terms, universal terms. I would like to say I feel that there's something terribly has gone wrong in the world. In the mad race to economic materialism, this spiritual void has been created in the world. And that is causing all the problem. We have moved away from Guruji. Until we come back to Guruji, there's no hope. So we have to understand the importance of spiritualism and spiritual life. God-centered life is very important, but many people don't understand. But I think the real reason for all the problems in the world, poverty, hunger, environment, nuclear war, is because we have lost faith in God. We have lost faith in the God-centered life. And Babaji taught us that there is no alternative to God's words. So to create the balance, to create the harmony in the universe, we have to come back to Guru's word. That is the cause of all the problems. I'm not talking about only East Asia, Korea, but generally in the whole world. Today, if you look at all over the world, you'll see economic materialism is being preferred over spiritual well-being. And that is the problem. But so many of the intellectuals, many of the leaders of the world are not paying proper attention to spiritual part, spiritual growth. That is causing the problem. Even though we have Babaji 500 years ago, but somehow we missed the message. Baba's message is not only universal, but it's time everlasting. We have to keep it in mind forever. So that is my message, that to create a balance, to create the harmony, we have to come back to Babaji's message. Thank you.
Fantastic, Dr. Lakwinder Singh. Absolutely. Again, coming back to basics, simple, core aspects, God-centered life, in one with nature and too much pursuit. Thank you so much, Lakwinder. Now, may I invite Dr. Gurdeep Chawla for your rapid comments, please.
Trying to unmute. Thank you. So, thank you so much again. In my wrap-up comments, I would again say that Sikhism is not just a religion. It's not how it was started, but yes, it's a way of life. It's what we need to imbibe in everyday's life. We need to bring it in, and it starts at home. You just say, the first school for any child is at home, and we need to start these values from the beginning. As a child, his life takes shape, and then move on to school and high schools and colleges and all that. We need to just emphasize these not as values that Guru Nanak has given and that need to only be followed by Sikhs around the world, but any human being, who believes in universal brotherhood, in universal love, compassion, values of brotherhood, values of sharing and compassion. These are values that we need to imbibe in our children from the beginning and make them better citizens. And I think the day is not far when we will be free from violence and free from misunderstandings and negativity and all of these issues that are going on in the world.
Thank you so much, Gurdeep ji. And with that, we come to the end of this wonderful, wonderful discussion on Guru Nanak principles and challenges of the world which are there today. I wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panel, starting with, of course, Bhai Sahib Satpal Singh Khalsa ji, the chairman of the Sikh Dharma Universal and ambassador of Sikh religion USA from the USA. Also, Sardar Sukhbir Singh ji, member of the Guru Nanak Nishkam Seva Jatha from Birmingham. Thank you so much. Also, thanks to Richard Fulton, fellow religious freedom at the Freedom Center of the Freedom Forum in Washington, D.C. Also, thanks to Dr. Lakwinder Singh, Director of the Korea Peace Movement from Seoul, South Korea. Thank you, Lakwinder ji. And sure, thanks to Gurdeep Chawla, Community Leader and Communication Expert, California, USA. And also, I convey our thanks to Daniel Blackman, the Community Leader from Atlanta, environmentalist who had joined us for the first half of the program. That being said, it was a true honor, and a video recording of this show will be put up on YouTube and shared with all of our panelists. That said, this program broadcast ends now. Thank you once again, all of us, all of the panel, and the program organized by the Imagindia Institute, the Live and Let Live campaign. We hope that the discussions which were held today would kind of, contribute in some way towards a narrative going into the year 2021. That being said, here is wishing you all a wonderful, beautiful incoming year. And why only a beautiful incoming year? A beautiful now and present always. Every moment of our lives, there be God's grace around us, light around us, whichever God we may believe in, and so that we continue on our path. Where the path goes, we don't know. But once again, thanks to everyone who joined in, put in their comments and questions, and of course to the welcome team and the organizing committee with us, Seema Srivastava, Shobha Kumar, and Hemant Vyas, who helped us to put this program together. That being said, this broadcast ends now.